again and get myself set up for another arena. Welcome to all of you folks who have tuned in, by the way. If you're watching live, you should definitely sign up for twitch.tv, because you can get involved. It will be great to hear from you. You can jump in the chat, you can comment. If you've got any questions, you can let me know as well. And that would be a really, really good way just to get involved and get a bit more involved with the show. And I love feedback, so anything that you can let us know about, that we could do better, stuff that would be a bit more relevant for you, then let us know. Cool. So, if you've just joined us, welcome to the Hearthstone Half Hour. And in this section, we've just finished a bit of a tortuous druid draft, and we're now going to jump straight into a new arena. So, in the last couple of episodes 8 and 9, we've jumped in, we've drafted a druid deck, a deck that we're not massively familiar with. Personally, I've not played too much druid. We've taken a look at a few tips and tricks as to how you can get used to a new deck or a new hero that you've not played before, including, as I'm doing now, jumping out mid-draft. Even before you choose your hero, you can go back and it's all saved there for you. You don't need to worry about losing it or losing your coin investment. Jumping into my collection, jumping into the various classes, using crafting mode to show the cards that you may not already have in terms of the class-specific ones, and just some tools to let you do a bit of research without googling all the way through the internet, to give you at least a sporting chance of making a deck. So, in this one, I've drafted Paladin once before on the shows that we've already done. We've just drafted Druid and I didn't really enjoy that too much. So I've not played Warlock before. What may be interesting to try is a Warlock deck. I quite like to... We'll save Warlock for another time. I'm going to go with Paladin one more time because I have a little bit more familiarity with that class. Great. So what we'll do here is go through drafting a Paladin deck and just see what the heck we get. In terms of a theme for the Paladin deck, there's several things you can do. You can try and trade early game using Divine Shield. You can use all of the Paladin buffs. You can do some Swarm style Paladin decks with Murlocs as well. Anything that has a bunch of cheap minions that can get buffed up and used in a good way. So let's go for a solid spine, a solid core of the deck to start with. 1 health for each card in your hand. That's a solid mid-game card. Monorath. I'm gonna, just in case of Murlocs, I'm gonna go for a Cold Light Seer. Next up, choose a minion. Whenever it attacks, draw a card. Whenever one of your other minions dies, draw a card. The Cult Master is pretty solid, and then a 2/2 Taunt. I'm gonna go for Blessing of Wisdom, just for some draw power. Tauren Warrior, Taunt and Rage and 3 attack is a pretty solid 3 mana sort of mid-tanking option. Nightblade, that instant damage for that. It's slightly low on stats for its mana cost, but then it's the Battle Cry that does the solid piece of work there. Noble Sacrifice, summoning a 2/1 defender as your new target, is good. It's kind of a last minute sort of stuff, really, that card. For draft purposes, I'm probably going to pick a Tauren Warrior as a solid spine of the deck. True Silver Champion. Heals, good damage, very, very solid, just worth picking. Divine Favour, draw cards until you have minions in your hand as your opponent. It's a catch-up card. Giving one of your Murlocs plus 2 health. I've got 1, let's go for another. In terms of these early game cards, the Elven Archer I would pick because that one Battle Cry can move a Divine Shield, it can pick off a 1 health minion, it's got a lot of versatility. Lord of the Arena is a great late game tanky sort of solid piece of work. Consecration, this is a tough choice. It's not going to be eye for an eye because that can be, you can get 2 damage early game, or you should really drop eye for an eye in the late game. Consecration clears the board and it's a very strong card. The Murloc goes with my Murloc theme. I may regret this, but I'm going to stick with the Murlocs. Charging Wolf Rider is a good trade there. You can generally trade something off the board with it. The heal is always handy with a Dark Scale healer. The River Crocolisk you can get 2/3/2s, and for that reason I'm going to grab the Dark Scale. Healing my minions. Now I'm going to go with the Wolf Rider. Crazed Alchemist, swap the health and attack of a minion. The Drake's rearing its head again, and then you can remove a durability from the weapon for a blood cell Corsair. I'm going to go with the Twilight Drake, because in theory I'm hoping to have a lot of cards down on the board. What I don't have a huge amount at the moment is early to mid-game tanks. For that reason I'm going to stick the Patriarch in there. A Frostwolf Grunt also fulfills that tank lack that I was talking about just now. The Argent Squire will let me trade. I'm not really going to be casting loads of spells, so I think the Ogre Magi is out. And Redemption, I'd only want to use that on a really powerful minion. This is a tough mix. What the heck, let's get a Redemption in there. Frostwolf Warlord, if I want to have a lot of minions on the deck, so I don't have any 5 mana choices on my mana curve, so he feels an obvious choice. Feng Creeper, I could do with another tank. But Hammer of Wrath for the 3 damage and draw a card. Pressing a Wisdom, Youthful Brewmaster. Now that Battle Cry, returning a friendly minion from the battlefield to your hand. If you've got a lot of minions with useful Battle Cries, then you can pick one up, put it down again. Maybe I could double up with health on the Murlocs or something similar. But another True Silver Champion is a gift not to be passed up. 1 damage from the Ironforge, just like my Elven Archer. The Cult Master, if my minions die, draw cards. Makes himself a target as soon as you drop him in play. I'm gonna give him a go. Chillin Yeti, the Boulder Fist Ogre is just a solid late game attacking card for a bit of damage, so I'm gonna drop him in. Ironfang Grizzly, a great tank. The Fairy Dragon's that 2/3/2, but I've also got a nice option in the Frost Elemental for a bit of late game swinging. It might be too late by the time I get him out, so I'm going to get a Fairy Dragon in to bolster my 2-piece. The old Lord Peacekeeper, Paladin only, changing enemy minions attack to 1. 3/3/3. And also the Emperor Cobra. That's a tough choice because they're both 2 very sort of solid spine cards. I've talked about the Cobra before in terms of just being a free trade if you can keep it alive for a go. The enemy attack to 1 is just to negate any big threat that they may have dropped on the field. Toss a coin. I'm going to go with the Mana Addict for the spell and 2 attack. I don't really have a huge amount of spells so far. I'm going to go with the Emperor Cobra. I'm going to go with the Peacekeeper. The Brewmaster with that Pandaren, return the friendly minion once more. 4/5/4 is pretty sweet. 2 damage for the Stormpike Commando, and I am lacking in that 5 area, but he is quite lightweight. As a late game sweeper, we'll grab a Core Hand. Equality, all minions health to 1. If you change all minions health to 1 with a quality and then consecrate, then you can cause some pain. I'm going to go with Holy Wrath for some potential draw power. Bloodfen Raptor is a 2/3/2. Stormwind Knight will come in and let me trade. I'm going to bolster up the early game. Light's Justice lets you attack, does not let you do huge other amounts of elseness. A Voodoo Witch Doctor to restore a bit of health, but these are all early game cards. It's not really been the strongest draft so far. This is quite a general minion heavy deck. For Light's Justice would let me start swinging, pick off minions in the early game. Let's give it a go. I've never really tried it before. Flesh Eating Ghoul, that ability of whenever a minion dies gaining 1, it's just a little bit strong in draft, so that's easily in. A Magma Rager, 5/1, no charge, really needs charge so it doesn't just get killed. I'm not casting many spells. Let's have a Repentance to up the spell count. I'm going to grab Holy Lights for both later casting and health restoration. The Murloc goes with my Murloc theme, so let's drop him in there. And with 2 cards to go, let's just think about bolstering this late game a bit. The Stormwind Champion gives out a global buff of 1 health and 1 attack, so he really makes sense if I have Murlocs on the field. And for my final trick, I don't need spell damage. And Twilight Drake could help me bolster up a bit. Giving another random friendly minion 1 attack goes well with my Murlocs. And there we have it, a very hastily drafted Paladin deck. It's probably not quite as good as my one in sort of episode 4 or 5. So theme wise, we're very heavily focused in the early game again. I wanted to try and swarm again better than that druid deck I played last time. We have Murlocs aplenty on this occasion. We didn't last time. We've also got a lot of strong early trading cards to try and sort of, keep the field clear and trade people away. And then last but not least, we have a few late game finishes. So for the final part of this episode, or the early part of the next episode, let's jump without further ado into one more game and see what we can do. And welcome to everyone who's just joined us for the half hour. I'm Hammy from Felcraft.org, and in this part of the episode, we're going for a bit of episode 10, stroke episode 11. We're going to be jumping right in with the deck that you would have just seen us draft, and playing straight into some arena, seeing that Paladin Swarm deck is actually going to work. So in terms of arena drafting, constructed deck drafting, we've been going on about a few things over the last few episodes, having some kind of theme, obviously in arena mode. The luck of the draw will very much determine whether you can stick to it or not. Trying to have a solid spine, a solid core of good neutral minions to back yourself up with. And then finally trying to make sure that you have some synergistic combos, so you've got some synergy between your cards. So you have cards that work well together, complement each other's abilities to bring out the best. I now have a mirror match. It's a fairly simple hand. I'm going second. I do have the coin, but those are all too expensive. So I'll trade 3 of them in. I could have traded all 4. Didn't really need a redemption, and I should have done. I traded in a lot of expensive cards, and I got a lot of expensive cards back. Let's get stuck in without further ado. I'm not going to be able to accelerate too quickly onto anything else, so I'm just going to get a tank down. I could have saved that coin, could have just dropped redemption, but if I drop redemption at this stage in the game, then I'm probably resuscitating a very weak minion. If I drop it a bit later in the game, it could be something like a core hound, for example. Oh, insta trade. It looks as though this paladin may have gone for some Murlocs too. How interesting this could be.
Reporting for duty.
If you're on Ogrimmar, then you should always use your catapult. Lots of fun to be had in this corner of the screen.
Reporting for duty.
One shot, one.
I could have grabbed my true silver out if I'd saved my coin, but you can see that at the moment there's not a huge amount going on. I seem to be picking all of my later game cards rather than the early ones. An easy direct trade there, and redemption. I almost played redemption for the sake of it there. However, he has decided to trade against it, but he still has 4 mana left, so he can drop some more cards. That's not it's not going to be going anywhere for a while. I could deal 3 damage and draw a card. He's not going to do huge amounts of attack to me. None of my minions are going to die if I start swinging with a true silver. I'm kind of wasting the healing on it a bit. But I don't need to draw too many cards right now. And also, Hammer of Wrath might let me trade another minion off the table. So for that reason, I'm going to drop the Cult Master. And the Cult Master is generally better played behind a tank, because obviously I want to keep it alive as long as possible. I'm pretty sure with 5 mana and 5 cards in his hand that our friend Exploon is going to find some way of getting that off the table.
Not on my watch.
Ouch. So he's going to attack once, meaning that it will just get removed next go. So for a 5/5 I could immediately start causing some trouble with the Frostwolf Warlord. I'm going to lose the full effect of this Cult Master. If I don't, he's going to get killed next turn anyway. So I may as well start trading things away. Get a Fairy Dragon down. So it was a little expensive, but I got away the tank there. A bit of extra card draw. I've got a pretty strong hand if you take a look at it. 2 true silver champions. I've got my late game minions, a couple of situationals. But in the meantime, he is dropping a lot of stuff on the table, hiding behind a tank and buffing himself good. A few different options. A fairy dragon and a true silver champion. Let me trade away his tank. I'm going to go for that.
For justice.
And although I'll take some damage to my hero here with that Blessing of Light, hopefully I can start clearing the board once more. Because he does have board control at the moment. If he got out some buffs or started overrunning me, I could be in a bit of trouble.
Justice demands retribution. Thank you. Well met. Let me think.
May have been my fault for not ending the turn. I'll say you had a reasonable reason to drop a little taunt on there. Sensible trade. Why lose your 3 attack minion when you can lose your 2 attack minion? And just continuing to bring a bit of pain with his lighter minions. So with my 7 mana I can drop... This core hound would get traded away by these. The weakness of the core hound is only the 5 health. Changing a minion's attack to 1 is not hugely going to help me. I'd kind of like to keep him in hand for now. Frostwolf Warlord doesn't have enough minions on the battlefield to be hugely effective.
I wonder. Follow the rule. For justice.
And with that minion passing away, I get to buff my flesh-eating ghoul. This card I've seen in quite a few arenas just become ridiculously strong, ridiculously quick. A smart consecrate there will allow him to trade away my higher attack cards. So that was a good move.
Reporting for duty.
So now this should let, hopefully, a little tide turn in my favour. However, with this 8/8 I've got an option. I can either start swinging away with True Silver and doing some damage to his hero, or get some meaty minions on the table. I'm thinking of the Boulder Fist Ogre, Lord of the Arena, and similar. I think I should drop a tank,
Reporting for duty.
showing my intent. 9 mana, 4 cards. Exploon could have something up his sleeve here. So it's a 1 mana secret. That could be resurrecting one of his minions. He'll use that to resurrect it with 1 health. Ouch. A double charge there, so quite a nice little combo with his redemption. Actually puts me in some trouble.
The frost wolves stand for justice.
This could go either way. I'm not in a good position. If he pulls out some very powerful minions or minions with charge, I could be in trouble.
Ready, sir.
He can do a lot of damage next game. Enough to kill me, in fact.
Reporting for duty.
And this is where pulling that consecrate would have been a really good plan.
For justice. Well played. I wonder.
So, look, he just needs to do another 2 damage, and he may well have a spell card in his hand. If he's got anything with charge, it's game over.
Ready for action.
There goes his swarm.
Taste my steel. Taste my steel. Me smash.
There's just nothing to heal me, sadly, so I think that I'm out of all options. So that was a very fast and furious game. I lost control of the board in this one. And we saw a couple of times where Consecrate would have done me some real help. So that was probably a bit of a misdraft. Being able to do 2 damage to everything on the board would have cleared his swarm away. And I never managed to get mine out. So that was a good game. Cool. So thanks very much for tuning in. What we've taken a quick look at in that episode was a new draft of a Paladin deck, and then a little bit later on in this episode we just had a look at seeing how it actually worked. So if we take another look at my deck, I do have quite a bit in the 1 and 2 range. I didn't see a bunch of these early cards. I had quite a few 1 mana and 2 mana minions, and not a lot of them came out early. Holy Light would have been very nice, that would have kept me in the game. But I think really my main challenge, there was maybe a slight misdraft at the beginning, a mispick. I should have probably tossed back 1 extra of my cards in my initial hand. And coupled with that, it generally felt in this draft deck that I was seeing all of the expensive minions a little bit too late, even though I'm very weighted towards early game cards. All of this kind of 5, 6, 7 mana stuff was coming out at a time when I couldn't really play it, and as a result his swarm got ahead of mine, and by the end of the game I was just playing catch up and really unable to clear the board of minions. So we will see in coming episodes maybe how the rest of this run pans out. My best arena run so far has been with a Paladin. I went about 6 or 7-2 I think, if I'm not revising history, so maybe this one will recover, maybe it won't. We'll wait and see. Thank you very much for tuning in, really appreciate it. We've redesigned the website, but you can find more Hearthstone Half Hour at felcraft.org. We're on YouTube at Felcraft Casts, so that's youtube.com/felcraftcasts. Twitter is at felcraftcasts. Twitch.tv is twitch.tv/felcraftcaster without the S, and felcraft.org is the website. Really love having feedback and you guys tuning in, so if you view on YouTube, see us live on Twitch, or visit the website, thank you first of all. But please, if you've got a couple of minutes to sign in to Twitch, YouTube, or comment on the website, let us know what you like, what you don't like, whether you thumbs up it or whether you vote it down. Just let us know what we can do better. I'd love to know what kind of things you'd love to see us covering, anything we can do in terms of changing the content, and just making better videos and more useful and fun stuff for you guys.